I love death. I think it's just interesting because, like, I get bored easily. I don't wish death on anyone or anything. I just think it's interesting that there's something at the end,
Yeah.
and we really have no idea what it is. Like, we have ideas. I mean, we have
Theories.
theories, a lot of different theories, and a lot of people are very sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue till you're blue in the face about what's out there, but we don't know,
Really?
and it's cool, right?
It all starts with a single question asked to an anonymous caller. What do you think happens when we die? And from there, the conversation goes in completely unexpected directions. Some speak with certainty, others with doubt. Some are still trying to make sense of it all. I'm Zach Ansell, and this is When We Die Talks, a podcast about death, meaning, and how that shapes the way we live. This podcast was born from my own fears around death and the need to talk about it. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm glad you're here. This episode is brought to you by the Death Deck. Want to talk to your family members about the future but don't know how to start? The Death Deck is a lively game that uses multiple choice questions and a dose of humor to help start conversations about death, dying, and illness. Learn new and interesting things about your friends and family members while becoming prepared for the future. And new this fall, the Death Deck introduces the Dementia Deck, a planning tool to talk about the type of care and treatment you'd want if you were living with dementia. All Death Deck products are available at thedeathdeck.com. Hey, welcome back or welcome here if this is your first time. After the last couple episodes, this one feels like a shift. This conversation is lighter, not because the topic is small, but because the caller brings a calm, laid-back presence to it. They've had 2 heart attacks starting when they were 16, and I know that sounds intense on paper, but what's surprising is how nonchalant they are about death and how relaxed the whole conversation feels. We end up in places like reincarnation, the language they've borrowed from Buddhism, and what it looks like to hold the unknown without trying to force certainty. So if you're looking for an episode that still touches the big stuff, but doesn't ask you to brace yourself, this is a perfect one for you. Let's get into the call. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, Zach.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're willing to do this. It's always very interesting to me as I'm journeying into this topic, or I've been journeying into this topic for a long time. But I'm always really curious to start the call with why you even wanted to do a call about death, something that a lot of people don't even want to talk about.
Sure. I'm going to try to go stream of consciousness because,
that's how this works.
I'll censor myself too much. The first thing I wanted to say is, I love death. I think it's just interesting because, I get bored easily. I don't wish death on anyone or anything. I just think it's interesting that there's something at the end, and we really have no idea what it is. We have ideas. I mean, we have theories.
Yeah.
A lot of different theories, and a lot of people are very sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can argue till you're blue in the face about what's out there, but we don't know.
Totally.
And it's cool, right?
Yeah, and this is a perfect place for us to talk about what you think. So I'm really interested to dive into that. And also, I've kind of alluded to this in previous episodes, but I've changed the application process a little bit for wanting to be on the podcast. Before it was literally just a phone number. So now I'm gathering a little bit of information about the person who's calling. So I know maybe 2 sentences or 1 sentence of your story. Very intrigued, very interested. So I'm excited to talk about that. But before we do that, maybe we can kind of get to know you a little bit. So the 2 questions that I like to ask off the top are where you're calling from, roughly city, state, and then what your favorite book is and why.
Okay. I'm calling from El Segundo. That's where I work. Live around Long Beach.
Okay.
I work around LAX, but not at LAX, at a weird designer studio there.
Nice.
And favorite book. Stream of conscious, going with the first thought. It was My Side of the Mountain. It's just a classic. Boy runs away, says he's going to live in the mountains and succeeds, and it's just a good time. Oh, yeah, that and 3 Musketeers. I think it's my adult or young adult favorite book.
Okay.
The story of D'Artagnan is one who's desperately trying to fit in, and he goes through all these ordeals, and I think I relate to that. Obviously, he's very talented and skilled, and he's smart. He's not just an average person, but in some ways he is. He comes from a poor background. He fits into this legendary world, and that's how I like viewing the world. Stories that make the protagonist seem bigger, or they're titans of this earth.
Yeah.
It makes the world seem too small, and it makes me snap out of it. Whereas Three Musketeers is very much like, no, he's just a very interesting part of this world, but he's by no means the king or like the biggest part of it. He's just someone who's deft and daring and willing to fuck things up for everyone around him just to get what he wants and be a part of this fascinating world.
I like that. Yeah. Nice. Well, I'm excited, and I'll also check out My Side of the Mountain as well. So thank you for those recommendations. And
sure.
Now maybe
no pressure.
We'll see.
Reading a book is a big deal. You deserve a medal every time you read one. You are smarter and you're better than everybody, and you should feel that way. You know?
It's one of the few things that I enjoy anymore. So I feel like I'll get a lot of medals again next year. But yeah, I appreciate that. And so maybe now we can jump into the heart of the conversation and start with, what do you think happens when we die?
I'm glad you had a more studied research Buddhist on, like pretty early on. I listened to that one right now. I already forgot his name.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan, yeah. So he's like, he said that he expanded much better than I could have, so I can kind of skip past the actual traditional research Buddhist opinion and more. This is my half-assed pop culture Buddhist version of it.
I like that better.
I definitely believe. Well, they both.
There's a place for everything. Yeah,
I definitely believe in a form of reincarnation. I don't think the idea of one-to-one. I don't think he agreed either. He was like, I think it's a little more nuanced than like, now you're a duck, or now you're a squirrel. Like, bad job. Now you're a kid in a poor country. Like does that mean that I do better or worse than like a pampered dog in America? I think there's a version of recycling that happens. Like, we're made of, it's easy to forget, we're a colony of trillions of cells working together. And that we are, in a weird way, our own utopian super colony of microorganisms that come together and think, we're better together. Let's like one person equals a utopian or dystopian, depending on your. No, I think utopian. Let's say utopian. That's positive.
Depends on the day.
Utopian super colony of living organisms working together for something bigger than themselves. And at what point is it a human? That's the whole abortion debate I'm not really going to have. But it's an interesting thought experiment of like, it's not a light switch. It's like a weird spectrum of consciousness. And I feel there's a version of that towards death, but it's more like we just kind of scatter, like the rings in Sonic, like we just slowly.
I'm loving all these references.
Cool. It's heavily researched. Like the cells fall apart, we hopefully decompose, and I think our body wants us to go back in the dirt. Like there just seem to some people want to like be burnt up and maybe release in the atmosphere, but I feel like most people I want to be in the dirt. That's where our cells want to go. To be part of the dirt again.
Totally. And so what does reincarnation then look like to you? And maybe it's even in an ideal world. When you die and come out the other side, what does that look like in your mind? Whether it's what you fully believe or hope, but what does that look like?
If I had to put like a visual thing to it, it's like some sort of ball of energy in terms of us, what we think of us, like our consciousness. And around it is our memories and thoughts and like bits of our soul, but it's like more amorphous. Like it's not shielded as much. Like when we're alive, we have our skin, we have our physical presence.
Yeah.
We're mostly closed off from, I believe, like weird, creepy shit like demons and angels and stuff like that, crazy stuff. And then when we die, we're back to that kind of plane where everything's kind of open. People's thoughts can affect things. Because, I don't think we've solved that. I have to research the mind broadly problem, right? It's like at some point our thoughts become matter and actually affect things. Like, what is the difference between that and like just a thought?
Yeah.
I think it just gets magnified, amplified out when we're dead because there's no barriers anymore. And we're just floating around and we can like lose bits. We can change bits kind of freely. Maybe we're attracting different, I'm calling them bits. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but
it's a scientific
term. And like, bits, when we die, we turn into a bunch of bits and we're just kind of recycling them maybe. And we're like in a sea of the collective unconscious.
Okay.
That's what I believe.
Yeah. And do we come back to this plane of existence or is it just kind of on to that next? area.
Oh,
I really just wanted to try to
back.
reuse
Like,
bit.
yeah. Thank you for sorting it out.
The bit
I didn't
zone or
draw this
something.
out. Yeah, we don't stay at level 2 or whatever it is. I think we come back for the most part. We come back. Some people are better at. They remember. They're a little more connected. The way a lot of people swear they never dream, and that's actually we dream every single night.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how many people are just so disconnected, and not to judge them or anything.
Yeah.
I think they're just focused on like life and like day-to-day things. They're not thinking about elephants on skateboards or whatever. They're just what's day-to-day life like.
Yeah.
And I think some people that were a little more connected to that side of their life, that side of their unconscious, when they come back, they remember more.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. This is very stoner talk, but it was cool. It was like in terms of stoner documentaries, top 5. This you have to. The Boy Who Lived Before. Did you ever see that one?
No.
Oh, dude, it's one of those that's like as skeptic as you can possibly be. It's like, okay, all right, like I don't know. I don't. How did he remember this obscure island off the coast of Scotland that he's never heard of? No one ever has, and he remembers a house and a family.
Whoa.
And like an airport. Like how? Like this is a fucking 5-year-old kid. Like his mom is like just a normal average. They're not famous. He gains nothing. And the kid that keeps talking about his old family from like a very,
wild.
very distant island. And they, introduced the skeptic and the scientist who's like going around researching all these people. And he's probably one of the best examples of like, how else do you explain this? We have no idea. Unless they teach this 5-year-old how to act and have a very elaborate backstory for him. But it's just one of those things like, you know what? Odds are, I think he remembers something.
Yeah. I love what science has given us and all these things. But I think we've fallen so far into that direction that there is a lot of mystery that it doesn't explain. And then we just kind of chalk that up to, this is pseudoscience, or this is a kid who's being coached and acting or whatever. I haven't seen the movie, obviously. But there's so much skepticism that comes into that. But I truly don't believe that we know everything about how the world works. And I don't think we have the science to prove everything about how the world works. So yeah, I love stuff like that, and I'm excited to check that movie out.
I agree. I think it's the whole spectrum of like being that skeptical and like just believing. Just today, I had a coworker talk about how like, oh yeah, in Afghanistan, there was a unit that fought a giant. I'm like, oh, I never just go, that's bullshit, right? I try to approach it like, well, if there were at least local legends of this giant, and there were a few more people. If it's just one guy saying it, then like, I'm gonna dismiss that easier. But like, give me at least a town, an urban legend, a conspiracy.
Totally.
Like a few soldiers going, yeah, we all saw the same thing. Then I'm a little more like open to it. Just one guy, like, oh, this guy's trying to sell a book. Okay, I don't buy it.
Totally. So there's a couple questions from here. Part of what I'm curious about is how did you come to kind of this reincarnation belief? But then I think also diving into your application and what you kind of said about your past, having some familiarity with death. I'm curious, maybe if there's a direction that you want to go from I think those are kind of two different directions. If there's one that kind of stands out to you.
Sure. Can you remind me what I wrote? Did I talk about the heart attack? Or
Yes.
Did I write about something?
Yeah.
So, the first one, it sounds weird to say, again, stream of consciousness. First one didn't feel like that big a deal. Like, I talked about it for last, because it's easy to think something weird happens to you once, it's a freak accident.
Yeah.
Right? I had a heart attack when I was 16. It was unpleasant. Like, it was painful. But I just thought it was like, even before I knew it was a heart attack, everyone's like, that's not a heart attack. What are you doing? They redo the test. Oh, shit, you had a heart attack.
I mean, at 16, that's kind of wild.
Short.
That's not the first thing on the list, right? At 16 years old, they're not thinking, oh yeah, heart attack, 16 years old. This is normal.
Exactly. They like, it was, the EMT did the EKG and he's all confused. And the doctor comes like, you're doing it wrong. Give me that. And, they do it. And like, oh shit. I remember the way he said it, like, apparently he had a heart attack. It stayed a mystery the first time because, they didn't want to like dig in there or anything like that. I told them I took NyQuil and they're like, well, it does elevate your heartbeat. Still, like, you didn't chug a bottle or anything like that. You just, you took twice the recommended dose. That shouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Your vessel had a spasm. They took scans of my heart. I forget. I think MRI. And they saw where the damage came from. And they were able to like take, okay, so you have a specific vessel inside the heart that got damaged. So that's probably what was spasming and gave you a heart attack. Not enough blood was going to that area. And I'm like, okay, not cool. But all right, we understand.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I think I was like 22.
Okay.
And I had the same familiar feeling. And it was after, my girlfriend was over. Yeah, I would say this is an adult thought. We had sex, and I was feeling pretty good. And then I just had like not to freak your audience out, but it does feel a lot like just a regular like tummy ache, like when you get gassy.
Okay.
That's the beginning of a heart attack feels very similar.
Okay. Now everybody's
And
going to be like, oh
okay,
no, I'm having a heart attack. My stomach hurts. I know I will.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It's like, oh yeah, heart attack and a panic attack feel very similar in the first 30 minutes. But it just kept getting worse. Okay. And it's like, I think I recognize this. I had like an emergency dose of, I already forgot the name of it. I should probably get that again. I'm kind of laissez-faire when it comes to my health.
Yeah.
But I'm doing better. I drive myself to the hospital. I didn't want to worry anybody. I didn't want to worry my mom. I still lived at home then. My girlfriend was there. She had to deal with like the paperwork and stuff. She had no idea like what to put out. And so, and it was like a seedy emergency room in like a small town. So they were not thrilled to just treat me without insurance and paperwork and stuff like that. And it just kind of got worse. Thankfully, because I reacted fast, I drove there. I'm like, I need this medication. I'm having a heart attack. Please give me that now.
And they're like, probably thinking you're making it up.
We'll be right back. Well, they take like, the receptionist, she goes back there. She talks to a doctor. They explain my case. Look, thankfully, within 30 minutes, I want to say like 15 to 30 minutes, they come back out with the medication because I'm just standing there. I don't look like I'm having a heart attack, but just the conviction and like charisma. I don't know. Like they give me the medication. They put me on a stretcher and they do the test. And like, oh shit, he's having a heart attack. And
wow.
I think that's when it really hit me that like, maybe I'll die. This isn't a freak accident. This is me, my heart. There's something wrong with my heart.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any NyQuil this time. It wasn't any like, nothing else was happening.
Yeah. You were just living life.
And it's just like, it wasn't like this, I want to say almost like Christian thing of like, I was sinning and, well, I guess I was technically, but no, you know what I mean? Like, real ones, like not taking care of my heart or like real, I wasn't doing heavy drugs or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's just going to happen. This is my heart.
Which has to be a scary thing too. When you like look at it, brain, heart, and lungs, I would say, right? I mean, I think there's other parts of your body for sure, but I think those three, like if something's wrong with one of those, that's a different category. And so that has to put you in just like a different way of thinking about, if my heart doesn't function at all, that's a serious problem.
Yeah, it feels less like your body and more, this is me. This is like, these aren't just organs, these are me. Like the emotions seem to come from there. I know it doesn't, I forget exactly how it feels like that, but it feels, I get why back in the day they thought that the heart was more important than the brain. Like it's where all your feelings seem to come from, the strong ones anyway.
Yeah, totally.
It's funny. When I think of the sentence before I say it, it makes me laugh. Thankfully, I was Buddhist by then.
Okay.
And I was able to like chill out and like meditate and like relax and accept death and be like, you know what? I'd rather not, but if it happens, that's okay.
Ugh.
Like
I'm not that far in my Buddhist training yet. I'm jealous.
And I was just laying down, and the other thing I can remember, I should have thought about it before. I'll rehearse this next time. But there was like metal music in my head, like like really heavy, like gruesome. It kind of helped me deal with it a little better, like the pain of it, because it seemed less like a freak out, gruesome thing to happen, and more like an experience. And, there was, I don't want to say hallucination, but I would close my eyes and there was like these like red and black kind of shapes, figures that I could kind of like imagine and like watch while I close my eyes, kind of dancing to the scene. And during it, I was able to like relax. I don't really want to one of those people that like, I meditated my way out of a heart attack. I mean, I still had it, but I feel like it would have been a lot worse had I been just continually freaking out. Like I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
Playing into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like I said, getting the medication I needed, knowing what I had, it wasn't as bad, but it was still a second heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, you didn't tell me about the second heart attack in the application.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. How has this affected the way that you look at life? I mean, you even mentioned a little bit or said that you're, laissez-faire with your health a little bit. Do you look at life differently? Do you look at death differently? Yeah, how did this change one or the other or both?
I mean, in typical fashion, I spent a few months really like, oh, I could do this, and I could volunteer at my church more, and I could do that. And then afterwards, I just kind of wore out and like lived life normally.
Yeah.
That's kind of any big event tends to do that. I feel, or maybe I'm just jaded and dead inside. But a couple of months of like, the world is amazing, the
Yeah.
gift of life. Oh, I could do this and that, and then I just kind of went back to screwing around a bit. I did already have like, I had hobbies, like I liked acting and I liked drawing, and I was trying to get a better job. But I feel, within 3 to 4 months, I just kind of went back to normal life, mostly.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had a heart attack, but I think that's sometimes the hard thing about life is you can have these moments of real clarity, whether it's in a heart attack or just some medical malady or, life circumstance, a divorce, so many things that can kind of uproot the way that you look at the world, the way that you see the world, but you still need to live in the world. And the world does operate in a certain way. And so, as amazing as it would have been for you to kind of come out of this heart attack and say, hey, I'm going to volunteer, I'm going to do all this stuff, I'm going to devote my life to, this and this and this. And there is a way that you could have done that, right? I mean, it's just an extreme way of living in the world that we live now. But there's very quickly, I got to pay my bills. I, have to pay my rent. I have to do this. And so I think that is the real interesting balancing act with all of this stuff, with some sort of awakening moment that you still do need to exist in this world. And that's hard, but it's also the nature of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not all hardcore epiphanies every day. I will say, I think I was already on the path towards appreciating life. So it's not like I was a hardcore materialist skeptic and then the heart attack changed things. It's more like I was already kind of going towards this path. So it was easy for me to just put the heart attack into like, and this is another reason to be weird, I guess. Like I'm already kind of going down that way.
Yeah,
so.
To double down on who you really are. Because that is part of that balancing act too, right? The world will try to make you into something that you're not. Well, maybe not everybody. I mean, maybe some people are just built that way, but I think there is
it makes you want a shape. It's trying to give you a default skin. And some people like that and some people don't.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about is, has there not been something along the way that the doctors have, like, is there something that's just like a defect in your heart that could be fixed? Or is this just kind of like, yep, this is a blip on the map that's going to come up every couple years, potentially?
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention. So the second time they took a better look because they're like, okay, this isn't a freak accident. Let's really dig deep, find out what's happening. So they ran more MRIs, more tests. They were studying it more. And I think the weird thing, it was one of those things where you see like a main character for a second, what was that? And they're like, he's like the head of cardiology. And like, when I was like laying down in my bed, this old man, like, I want to say he's like 70s, in like a coat, very House. Well, you think of House, like his equivalent before the show came out. And he was like followed by like 7 like doctors in training. And he took the stethoscope out, then just touched my chest with his hand. And he's like, And apparently after he got involved, they found out that what happens is I have I don't know if it's an artery or a vessel. I think a vessel is the term they use, that's built inside my heart.
Okay.
So it's always a little constrained. It's normally fine, but they call it myocardial bridging. Okay. I remember that word. But if it also spasms, which in normal people might make them feel a little anxious, with my already stupidly built heart, together they cause a heart attack.
Okay.
Their powers combined give me heart attacks.
The worst superpower ever.
Yes. We can take this guy down. And they can't really do anything about it except maybe a stent, but that's not great. Like if the heart's intact and he's not having heart attacks all the time, let's just leave it alone, not cut it open, put all this stuff in there. So I think I'm fine. They did mention I have scarring there, so that's like maybe 10 or so years off my life total at the end, but I'm fine with that.
Just like that.
They didn't give me a number, but they just meant you got scarring in there. You got maybe and again, my memory's kind of fuzzy. He may have said something like it's equivalent to like a 65-year-old man or something like that. I feel better than that though, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This might have been just his opinion.
I'm just like in awe of it's just like 10 years off. So whatever. I'm like, how did you get to that place? And I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but I guess from, my learnings in Buddhism and what we've kind of talked about a lot in this conversation is what else can you do about it? But I'm still always shocked by the people that are just so comfortable with the idea of death. Is that your Buddhism practice or?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. First, I'm just curious. Let's just take have you quantified your anxiety towards death on a scale of 1 to 10 before? Has anyone asked that yet?
Nobody has asked that yet. And I've often said, I don't know if I could quantify it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say when I started this project, and of course that's looking back and whatever, I think I was a 9 or a 10.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, especially in comparative to your life, this is the most freaked out of death I've ever been. Yeah. And probably a little more than average. That's good to put that at 10 because you can't imagine someone who's even more freaked out. I mean, you could possibly, but yeah you're pretty high up there.
Yeah. Now I would say probably at a 6 or 7.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
really progress.
Good.
You know, I'd probably do some, decimals. So 6.8. So let's just round up to 7. And I think before we're probably at like a 9.2, so we can round down to 9. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting better.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't have kind of the panic attacks around it anymore, or I started calling them existential attacks. I haven't really had many of those, but I mean, when I talk to you, like if I had to answer that question for you, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a 1 or a 2. You just seem so comfortable with it.
I would say like 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm not going to throw my life away. I would say I'm afraid of pain.
Yeah.
Like I definitely I have a weird intense fear of being in a situation where I have to cut off my own arm to survive. I don't know why. I'm really afraid that there's some sort of weird reincarnation, like it's gonna happen. Oh my God.
What was that movie? I mean, obviously it was a true event, but like
127 hours.
Yeah. Did you see that maybe at like a very, very young age and traumatized you or something?
No, it was later, but it fit my phobia perfectly. And I was entranced and I loved it. I was like, I hope that never happens to me. That sounds as terrible as I thought it would be. Like, I know he gets that cool trip at the end, but I think I would just like, no, I'm just going to die. I'd be more likely to just die.
I don't think I'd have it in me to do what he did. I mean, that was, amazing in its own crazy way. Very impressive that someone has the wherewithal to do that.
That's more courageous. That's more courageous than me just kind of, fuck it. I'm just going to wither here.
Yeah, like, totally.
Give me 3 days of exposure. Maybe I'll change my mind. But
totally.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Well, that comes from, I grew up fairly religious. I think a combination of video games and religion, both going like, when you die, it's not a big deal, and I know video games are video games. That was my formative experience as a kid. It's like raised off TV and video games. Yeah. Maybe, let's call it detachment from real life, kind of stuck around. Like you can't, I've tried to grow and make more friends and real connections as an adult, but I think there's a certain core that just you wrap stuff around it. But that's who I am. I'm like kind of like a weird, lonely, detached kid. And like, I have friends and like family and commitments and all, but it's, it's there. Yeah. Like I feel it. Yeah. And so I would pray a lot as a kid. I would pray to like cry less because I was very like emotional and like not like sad all the time, just like easily triggered, I guess you could say.
You had a lot of feelings.
And I had a lot of feelings. I didn't know what to do with them. Yeah. My parents were immigrants, and I really feel I didn't get it, but now I understand that they had a very specific upbringing, and they could not understand why a kid who's not hungry every day, who doesn't live in a small house with 10 other kids, who has all the TV and video, well, not all the video games, but could play video games and TV as much as they want and have all this attention, be upset and sad. And, they weren't like, they were great parents, but, there was a misunderstanding there. Yeah. Yeah. And there was a lot of misunderstanding over misunderstanding. And I think that led to me being kind of isolated and not having a lot of friends until I was pretty much in high school. So I think, in a way, loneliness made me more okay with death.
That's interesting. That all makes sense. I mean, especially, and I love how you even phrased it with like your parents. It's totally understandable the response that they had because of where they came from, their upbringing. And it's also totally understandable and reasonable why I felt the ways that I did. That's, not necessarily on the topic of this podcast to some extent, but I think there's something really beautiful about just that recognition of where our parents come from and where we come from, and how there can be this divide or separation, but you have this understanding of, I'm not upset that they had this reaction to me. Like, it's completely understandable. I think that's a really amazing thing. I think that is wonderful to have that understanding, because I think that's something that a lot of us miss. And that's not just in our dynamic with our parents, right? That's our dynamic with everybody, that we all have these stories and we bring these stories to the table. And if you don't understand that other people have stories and different stories, and that's what they're bringing to the table, it is hard to see that, oh yeah, my parents were they didn't get me. They didn't love me the right way, or whatever it is. So yeah, again, a very, very long tangent of mine, but I just felt like I should mention that. I think that's really beautiful that you're able to see that.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, that was a good tangent. I want to congratulate you. I'm sorry. I'm not being like sarcastic at all. It's a thing of like, if I want to say how I feel, I'm just gonna go straight for it in a very wordy way instead of trying to overthink it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I have one last question for you. What's one thing you still want to experience in this lifetime?
Like a really, really good long mushroom trip out in the forest, like a 10-day hike or something. Like really be out there.
Get lost.
I haven't done that. I've done, like super lost. Really see, like I've seen some things, like I've taken mushrooms.
I feel like getting lost in nature, and really just kind of experiencing that. I think that's beautiful. Is there a place that you'd want to go?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big weeb. So if I went to Japan, I definitely do like those Buddhist temples out in the mountains and stuff, and like a long sit. Like the most I've ever meditated for was just like 6 hours. So maybe something even longer, more extreme. Give me that waterfall, that anime stuff. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, do that and then wander off into the forest for 10 days and you'll come back out a completely different person.
In a safe way, because I don't want to be a statistic. Like, I don't want to get an arm stuck underneath the rock. And,
Fingers crossed. I do not want that to happen to you.
That would be the worst possible trip.
Yes.
I don't want to harsh it with something like that.
Yeah, that's valid. Well, thank you so much for being willing to do this, for being willing to kind of share about your experiences. I am definitely slowly diving into Buddhism. So it's always really wonderful to talk to other people who are on that path, because I think there's language that I think there's some familiarity, and I think it's a wonderful practice. Whether you believe in, I think there's a religious side of Buddhism, and I think there's also a philosophical side of it. The philosophical side, at least, I think is a very wonderful way to approach the world and approach life. And anyway, very thankful for you.
I would agree with that. That's how I kind of convince myself that, even if I'm wrong, it's pretty good. It's useful. Off podcast talk, or I did want to, when you have time and some other day, my girlfriend had a very similar feeling towards death.
Okay.
And then I ended up having to comfort her, because she got a gnarly minute of you might die in 5 years. We didn't know.
Yeah.
And there was this point where I'll try to be quick. There's a point where she would ask me, just tell me I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. And the first 2 days I just did, even though I didn't know, I was you're going to be okay. But it was very half-assed, because my heart wasn't in it, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
The third day I had some time after some meditation, stuff like that, going, I don't know if you're going to be okay, but you can decide that you're going to be okay with death.
Yeah.
And she did not like that. She was like, what do you mean? How can you say what? No, no. And I'd have to kind of recount the conversation with her, but eventually she sort of became a little better at it, but it was definitely not an easy message to take, even though, she'd been with me for a while and she knows my whole shtick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
totally.
it was interesting. It took me a couple days to get the courage to be like, actually, this is what I believe about death.
Yeah.
You should be okay with it.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a hard one to deliver, for sure.
Yeah, it's because, I don't want to, it is a very, I don't want to say condescending, grandiose, well, any of those words.
Yeah, it's very blunt
I don't know,
to some extent too, right?
to say to somebody, especially a loved one.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we can talk about that later if you feel like.
Yeah. Well, if she ever wants to come on the podcast, let me know. And I can talk to her about it too.
Yeah, I think she would. No, that's a good one. She's more atheist agnostic. So this would be more of like, how do you comfort yourself when you don't have that belief in the soft, cushy pillow of afterlife?
Yeah, which is more of my perspective. So it'd be interesting. Maybe this will be a two-parter where we'll do a back-to-back weeks of yours and hers if she's up for it. But
that'd be cool. I'll let her know.
Yeah, definitely let her know. And you have my contact info. She can just shoot me a text if she's up for it. But obviously, zero pressure for me. But that could be a very interesting side-by-side or something.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Awesome.
All right, I don't want to take up more of your time, but thanks. This was a great talk. I'm glad this was fun. Honestly, got some more laughs than I thought it would.
Yeah. That's how it always goes. It feels like there's always way more laughing than anyone would expect in a conversation about death.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't, just compare Buddhist texts or something like that. Like, I believe in page 130, you're supposed to go up this side of the mountain, and I don't know.
Well, I'll have to study, and then we can do that. We can do that next year.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect.
See you in a year after you've read 3 Musketeers.
Perfect. Man, I got a lot of work to do. Well, thank you so much. We'll definitely stay in touch, and I hope you take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye. There's a moment I keep coming back to where I ask the caller about how having 2 heart attacks has changed their life, and they're just honest. They basically say, for a little while it did. And then a few months later, things kind of drifted back toward normal. I think we carry this expectation that these big moments are supposed to permanently rewire us. Like something happens and suddenly we live with perfect clarity and start doing everything differently. But a lot of time, life just keeps being life. The changes can be real without being dramatic. It can be temporary without being meaningless. And honestly, I found that kind of reassuring. Not because it's a great lesson, just because it feels so true. And before we wrap this up, I want to zoom out for a second. By the time this episode airs, I'll have recorded 50 anonymous calls. That still feels a little unreal to say out loud. What started as a way to fill a gap in the calendar has turned into a core of this whole project. And one more thing, because I've been hinting at it for a while, I'm getting close to launching the other project I've been teasing. It's going to be called Mnemosyne, and I'll share more about it in the next week or two. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening to this episode of When We Die Talks. These conversations don't offer answers, but they do open space to reflect, to feel less alone, and maybe to see things a little bit differently than before. If you'd like to explore your own beliefs out loud, you can apply to be an anonymous caller at whenwedietalks.com. And if a full call feels like too much, the voicemail is always open. Leave a message at 971-328-0864 and share whatever death has stirred in your life. Listener support truly helps keep this project going. If you'd like to support the podcast, you'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Every bit makes a difference. Until next time, have a good life.